you're probably muted. They have to take us off.
Okay, we're going to get started, everyone. Again, please go ahead and mute yourself to minimize the background noise so everyone can hear. Welcome. My name is Kate Hawley. I'm the Senior Manager of Exhibition Sales at the Water Environment Federation. I'm here today with my colleague Stephanie Walter, Director of Exhibit Operations, to share the updates and plans for WEFTEC 2021. Who are exhibiting partners. Today we're going to overview the floor plan and the booth selection process. Again, please go ahead and mute yourself if you're not on mute. And we'll get started. So the agenda today, you'll learn, we're going to overview the booth appointment schedule, the floor plan, the booth application process. We will be pausing at certain points throughout the webinar for Q&A, but we will keep things moving with a goal of hoping to wrap this up in 30 minutes. Of course, we're happy to stay on longer at the end of the webinar to answer more questions that come up. Our colleagues, Erin Kelly and Jessica, will be monitoring the chat. So we do ask that.
Excuse me, Kate, this is Annette. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. I'm not sure everybody's muted.
Okay. We will try and mute people because there's a couple hundred on. It may just take us a moment. So if anyone is not on mute, if you could please mute yourself and we'll do the best we can. So again, please post your questions and answers to the chat function. Again, given the number of people on the call, I think that's going to be better than raising hands and unmuting yourself. And then we'll also talk about who to contact at the end of the webinar. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the schedule overview. If you haven't already, I would really encourage you to bookmark weftec.org/exhibit 2021. All the information that we share with you via email, those updates are going to be posted to this website. So this is a snapshot here of the website, and as you can see, there's a couple of different buttons. The first one links you right to the live.
Ryan or Robert, you have a call on part 1.
The second button links to the exhibitor FAQs. This button here, WEFTEC 2021 exhibit space sales, links to the detailed overview of how the actual process will work, and I will overview that briefly today. And then finally, the advanced sales appointment schedule is the physical schedule for advanced sales. We do have some exhibitors on the line that might qualify for second round sales. You will not see your appointment schedule yet, as you're anticipated to begin your appointments probably mid-April. So as we approach that time, we will post that schedule. So we are just looking at the advanced sales appointment schedule today. So if you were to click on that advance appointment schedule button, a PDF would populate, and this is a snip of that PDF. And here you can see basically advanced sales is broken up into 2 phases. In order for WEF to acclimate to the system and also have our exhibitors acclimate to the system, the approximate first 150 companies in priority point order that qualify for advanced sales have been given a specific booth date and booth time. And I'm going to go to the next slide to overview this. So the first 150 companies will have live one-on-one appointments. They are 10 minutes in length. Your appointment date and time was emailed to you on Wednesday, February 17th from weftechsales@wef.org. And you will receive a calendar invitation prior to your appointment that will include your application link and a Zoom link to join us on the call for us to help you one-on-one select your space, looking at a floor plan and going through the online content.
How do you do?
Again, if you're not speaking, if you could please mute your lines, that would be great. If you are if your appointment is on Wednesday, March 3rd, you would have received your calendar invite this morning as an example. If your appointment is on March 4th, you will receive your calendar invite tomorrow because that's exactly 1 week before your appointment. So for the companies that are above the 150 mark for advanced sales, we will be structuring the process a little bit differently. You will receive an application link to your space application 1 week in advance. So beginning March 15th, you'll see on the schedule here, starting with Watson and Marlowe, we anticipate Monday, March 15th, and then you'll see approximately 100 companies slated for that time. They will receive their application link 1 week in advance, and on that Monday, they'll be able to access their online application at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And we ask that you submit your application through 8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. Beginning on Wednesday, we will start going through the contracts in priority point order, assigning them and sending you your countersigned contract that we've assigned your space. So we'll continue through that process through about beginning April. Again, the anticipated dates are based on WEF being able to process 100 contracts a week in order. It is possible we might contact you and say, you know, we're having a delay in getting through contracts. We may have to push it back, but we certainly won't be moving it up. So we appreciate you bearing with us as we're working through this new process together. I'm going to pause there briefly and see if there's any questions. Please go ahead and add them in the chat. And I'll look to my colleagues if there's anything standing out that needs to be addressed right now. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the floor plan overview. Again, if we don't hit your question in the chat, we will follow up with you. So before I hand off the floor plan overview to my colleague Stephanie, I just want to overview some of the pavilions that you'll see in there. Some of these should be familiar. Our Innovation Showcase has been a long time pavilion at WEFTEC for the past 10 years. We do have a new area within the Innovation Showcase. It's called the Distributed Infrastructure Zone. Our technical team came to us and said this is a big up and coming area, specifically distributed infrastructure and decentralized water. And so we've added this area. Additionally, if we head on to the next page, we've overviewed the pavilion. Stormwater hopefully looks familiar to some of you. That's been in place for a number of years. However, we do have two other new pavilions, the Intelligent Water Pavilion that's dedicated to water solutions, in addition to the 100-mile pavilion focused on companies within a physical distance of 100 miles from Chicago. So keep those pavilions in mind. If we haven't had one-on-one conversations about your eligibility and you'd like to check and see if you qualify, please go ahead and email us at weftechsales@wef.org so we can pre-qualify you. That will make things a lot easier. So when it's time for your appointment, we already have that information. Okay, and I am going to hand it over to Stephanie Walter to review the floor plan. Give me just a second. I know I have to share.
All right, I've shared mine.
Okay, hang on. You know, we practiced this and then here we go. Let's see.
Are we good?
I don't
We-
think so.
we
Hold
see-
on. Can you see the floor
we see the
plan?
floor plan.
We can see it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. The 2021 floor plan has been designed based on the current guidelines for health and safety in order to provide physical distancing throughout the hall And we will keep evaluating the requirements to see if any changes can be made along those lines. So we are going to go ahead and start this in the North Hall, and I'm going to kind of move in this direction. So I want to point out, starting up here, that some of the elements up front have changed from 2019. Attendee registration is now front and center facing into the Grand Concourse. And then some of these elements were previously in different places on this side or over in South Hall. So Global Center was previously in South, and awards was shifted over a little bit, and membership was shifted over a little bit, and the mobile session was kind of somewhere else. We now have 2 larger entrances that are going to be designated as entrance exits with a bit of a stanchion in between. So those are here and here. And then probably most noticeable are the wider aisles in this interesting X configuration. And those also are bisected by these additional 20-foot wide aisles. Also new to the floor plan on this side is our new networking area, which will have both scheduled networking times and then will be available to attendees when there are not scheduled networking times. And as Kate was saying, there are 2 pavilion areas on this hall. We have the 100-mile pavilion and then the innovation neighborhood, which includes the innovation pavilion, the overall innovation showcase, the discovery zone, and the new distributed infrastructure area. And then further in the back, we have the career fair, exhibitor services, exhibitor lounge, all important concessions so that you can eat.
And I already went and got food.
So that and I do want to point out that you're going to start to see in beige, which is the color I've decided these are, these areas that are on hold and are not going to be available immediately to select. So you're going to see these in specific areas. And that of course means that the ones that are in blue are available to select. And I think that covers all of the interesting and new parts in North Hall. So we're going to go ahead and switch to the South Hall, which you can do by selecting halls up here. And we'll go ahead and start again at the entrance from the Grand Concourse. And exhibitor registration is here facing onto the concourse. The bookstore, which has moved as well. And you'll again see these 2 wider entrances, which the same, they're going to be designated entrance exits with the separation. And let me zoom out. Whoop, wrong direction. I practiced, but again, you can see that did me a lot of good. In this hall, we also added larger aisles. So you'll see the 2 40-foot aisles here and additional 20-foot cross aisles here. And I do want to point out that 2 of these connect these escalator entrances, which bring up attendees from the shuttle buses 1 level down, and then connect all the way to the escalators that go up to the sessions. And then of course, there are the additional 20-foot aisles in that direction. And the specialty pavilions in South Hall include the Stormwater Pavilion and the Intelligent Water Pavilion. Other areas of note in South Hall include the mobile session area and the new mobile session area, which is an addition, and then not shown here, but also there is another new networking area right here, which is again the same as the one in North Hall. So there will be scheduled and unscheduled networking available in that space. On-site sales is here. Operations challenge seating, the exhibitor lounge. And then concessions are set here so that there is greater space for both the concessions and the concession seating. So again, to provide more physical distancing in those areas than what is available up here. And again, you are going to see spaces that are on hold and not available immediately for selection. And then I do also want to draw your attention to what you're going to see for our inline spaces. So you're also going to see alternating booths on hold in the inlines, so that you're going to see, for instance, a designated corner 10 by 30 with an alternating space on hold that won't be available, a inline 10 by 20, a space on hold, an inline 10 by 10, a space on hold, and then a corner 10 by 10. And this is going to be done throughout the hall to create physical distancings throughout all of the inline spaces. And the one last thing that I want to point out is just the ability to navigate the floor by booth size, so that you can go ahead and select that to take a look at everything within the hall by size. And that is my very fast navigation through the new floor plan. Are there any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Hi. I had a look at the map earlier on, and the filters to see what's available. You know, you go to the booth, the halls, booth size, etc. Earlier on today, the filters seem to work, and I'm assuming once you've completed clicking on the various options in the filters, the map then actually presents what's available with little red or orange discs. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm just wondering, when I checked it this morning for my particular requirement, there were quite a lot of red discs on the North Hall. And then later today, when I had another look, I couldn't even access the North Hall, and I sort of thought, "Ooh, are people already booking up space?"
It might have been how you had your filter set. I think that there's nothing that you need to worry about at this point in time for availability. Fine. Yeah, it's probably how you had your filter set, and depending on where you are in the assignment,
it's working now.
Order. Yeah. Yeah, depending on where you are in the assignment order, it's something that you're likely just going to walk through with Kate at any rate.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Can you hear me, Stephanie?
Yes.
It's Gabriel.
Well, hi, Gabriel.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through the Zoom. What happens to the booth reserved? I missed the first 5 minutes. Maybe you covered it already. The booth reserved for 2020. That space, I guess, is not in consideration now, is it?
The booth reserved for 2020?
Yeah, well, the one that was canceled. Yeah, I guess it was 2021. Sorry, I'm working out of the house and I lost track of days of the week and years or whatever. Soon it will be centuries, you know. But that it's not being taken in consideration, is it?
All of that has already been set as part of the assignment schedule.
So if we had 400 square feet, then that's going to show up at the actual appointment date and hour. Is that correct?
I can hop in if it's helpful. Stephanie. So right now, no one has any book space reserved. Of course, we have historicals of what you reserved in the past, and we can reference that and look at that as we're preparing for your appointment, but you can reserve whatever space you have. So there is nothing on the books. You may have a credit from WEFTEC
Yeah, I
wish
thought
to
you-
2021 that can be used, but it might be helpful, Gabriel, just in terms of time to have a one-on-one conversation directly with you to best address your questions, just so we can continue. And
This is a sure thing because there's people like I'm traveling from Canada and now the borders are closed. There's people, my partners coming from Germany, which is also no traveling. What's the consideration? And what's the consideration on that? Have you guys considered what happens to people traveling from outside the United States?
Are we referencing your appointment schedule? Because at this time, we do really kind of want to keep focusing on the
Okay.
contents of this presentation. If you do have very specific questions, we can certainly address those afterwards and follow up with you later.
Okay, and then the last one is that the deposit left for 2021 is still there, right?
Gabriel, I'm sorry. I need to interrupt you. I really think I want to be cognizant of the couple other 100 people on the call, and I'd be happy to call you.
I thought we can ask any questions, but that's fine.
No, it's just that it's specific to you, and I want to be fair to the hundreds of others that are trying to get a quick
I understand perfectly. I understand
cognizant of
perfectly.
their time. Okay, I will definitely call you directly after the webinar. Thanks for your understanding. I appreciate it.
No
Hey.
problem. It's and
Kate and Stephanie, we're getting a couple of questions from folks
Great.
related to booth splitting, booth combining, and some of the other details on the floor plan, like columns and booths. If you could dive a little into that, I think that would answer a few of the questions we're getting.
I think that's Kate. Because I mean, that's a very general question, so I'm not sure what is being asked exactly.
Can you be more specific, Jessica?
Sure. They're asking if booth combining and splitting is going to be available.
Thank you.
Which of
Yes,
course
that will be
is
available. I think the big thing that's different this year is because inline booths have to be physically distant. The example that Stephanie was showing earlier, I don't know if you can go there, Stephanie, to that example. But there's a 10 by 20 that's reserved, that's blocked, split, and then there's a physical distancing booth, and then there's another booth available. We can rearrange that, assuming someone hasn't reserved along the way next to you. But we're just kind of setting up some of the physical distancing to show you an example of if you wanted to reserve a space, there does have to be a 10 by 10 space of physical distance between you and the next exhibitor. But those things can be rearranged, and yes, we can split booths as we have done in the past. So all that is still possible. Does that answer the questions? Okay. I think if you have specific questions on your particular booth or how you want to situate things, it might be helpful for us to connect before your appointment. So I'm going to go ahead and Stephanie, I'm going to take back. And can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
You have to reshare it.
You see it now? Hold on. Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to move through the booth application process. And as I said before, everyone's going to receive a customized link to your specific company's application. So when you click on that link, you will come to application. So you're going to go right into it. You don't have to click or, log in or sign in with a passcode. So we made it really easy for you. It's a 7-step process. And I'm going to start here with step 1. You'll see the red arrow that says click here to view the floor plan. That will populate the floor plan in a separate tab, and we encourage you to keep that open so you can reference it again. This first step is really for you to let us know what size booth you're going to reserve. So this would be a drop down. So it'll say 10 by 10, 10 by 10 with one corner, with two corners, all the way down to, I think, like a 50 by 50 is in there. And so this is what you anticipate reserving and how you will be billed on your invoice. If for some reason in this example, let's say you selected 10 by 20, but in the end, we end up assigning you a 10 by 20 with two corners that you prefer, we will send you a revised invoice with that adjustment. Or if you size down, we would adjust it down. So again, in this first step, you just want to tell us what you anticipate reserving. It's going to automatically calculate based on whether you're a WEF exhibitor member or non-member. In this particular case, it's basing it on a member because that's $39.50 per square foot, $39.50 per square foot. If you multiply that times 200, you get 7,900. Adding the one corner equals 8,150. So the system is automatically looking to see if you have exhibitor membership with us. If you're unsure if you have exhibitor membership, I would encourage you to contact WEF Member Services directly. If when you select your space, you are at a non-member rate and later choose to purchase exhibitor membership with WEF, we can adjust your rate at that time. Okay, so after the first step, we're going to move on to the next step. Step 2. So this is your company information and booth preference. It's a long page, so I've split it up into a couple snapshots. First thing you're going to do is just give us your billing information. This is information already pre-populated based on what we have. And then at the bottom, you see the required field, confirm you're eligible to exhibit at WEFTEC. Just give us a brief 1 or 2 sentence description of what your products and services entail. This is just for internal WEF information. This will not be published publicly. Later in the process, after you complete your application, you'll have an opportunity to give us information that you actually want to show publicly on the exhibitor directory. So again, all internal information here. We're going to continue down. Hopefully you left that floor plan link open, but if you didn't, you can click here again. It'll open to another tab so you can view the floor plan and start listing your booth preferences. We do ask you to list as many preferences as you can, but we do require that you have at least 3. Listing 8 allows us to continue and get a sense of what your interests are in the case that the first couple are unavailable when we're reviewing your application in order of priority points. Then you'll see a comment box here so that you can add any kind of detailed notes like you prefer to be on an aisle, I really want to be in North Hall, things like that. So make any notes there that you'd like us to see. And then you'll see a couple questions that help us in reviewing your application. Is a corner booth more important than location? You can check yes or no. And then I would like to be contacted when WEF reviews my application, click yes or no. For the first 150 companies of advanced sales, we'll be having those one-on-one appointments live. So we'll be on the phone with you on video. But for everyone beyond that first 150, because you're completing the online application on your own, submitting it, and then we're reviewing them through the week. If you'd like us to pick up the phone to review it with you personally, we're more than happy to do that. Just let us know. Okay, and then we're continuing down, competitor listing. Historically, WEF has kept your competitors on file, but we want to get an update. So we're not referencing any historical competitors you've provided us, so you need to update us with them here if that's something that's important to you. So go ahead and list those competitors and then answer the question, yes or no, is booth location more important to your company than being near a competitor? And then the last piece of this step 2, I'm really excited about this page. So I know a lot of our exhibiting partners in the past have said, hey, I'm the primary contact, but I'd really love my colleague to be copied on all communications. Our system hasn't allowed us to do that until now. So with this, you can go ahead and add a secondary contact if there's someone else you'd like to add to communications when we contact the primary contact. And we have a billing contact. So anytime the primary contact sent an invoice, the billing contact, like someone maybe in your accounting team, would be automatically CC'd. So we're just trying to service you a little bit better here. And if you don't know a secondary or billing contact at the time of your application, no worries. You'll have the opportunity later when you access your exhibitor dashboard to add, update, and do those things. But we're excited about that new feature for you. Okay, then we're going to move on to section 3. And this is step 3, and this is where you have an opportunity to add some additional items that WEF is offering. This is specifically related to your online exhibitor directory listing. It's called a MYS, that's Map Your Show. That's our exhibit management tool. It's called an enhanced listing opportunity. Every single exhibitor receives a basic listing with their booth's purchase, so it's at no cost. Your company and contact information is listed, your booth number that links to the floor plan, website description, and product categories. So boom, you get that no matter what. So that's an option. The other option you have is to upgrade with the deluxe package with additional offerings. During the space application process, you get a 15% discount at $495. So if you come back later after you submitted your application and want to purchase it, it would be at the cost of $750. So this is an offering that we're making available to you when you select your space. And I do want to overview the extras that are included in the deluxe package. Here, you'll see you get with the deluxe package an extra show special offer. So if you have something you're giving away or something exclusive to WEFTEC you want to offer customers, you can include that. You get 2 virtual business cards with, for instance, sales reps information to contact. And the deluxe package also includes to upload up to 2 product brochures or press releases. Okay, so once you review this, you do have to select one of the options to continue. Once you do that, you're going to come on to step 4. And these are some additional offerings as well. The first is the WEFTEC exhibitor directory logo enhancement. This has been in place with for WEFTEC for some time. You get a special 15% discount rate if you purchase it. And if you click on this image here, it will populate to here so you can see a blown up example of if you purchase this, you would have your logo added to the listing. And as part of this offering, it's published in the WEFTEC program, September WENT, and on weftec.org. A secondary option for you is the WEF Buyer's Guide. This is not directly related to WEFTEC, but is a year-round offering on weftec.org. The Buyer's Guide Enhanced Profile is a content profile that attracts members and non-members seeking to learn more about water solutions. If you go ahead and click on this example here, it will populate into a web page and you can see how the Buyer's Guide listing is dynamic and lists the information. Can everybody see my web page, I hope? Okay, I'm seeing nods.
Yes.
Okay, and so just to let you know, this offering, WEFTEC exhibitors are automatically included in the WEFTEC exhibitor showcase section of this listing. So that's another option, and I'm going to minimize. Okay, so we're back. So you can add these options to your cart. You cannot add them. That option is for you. Again, you get a 15% discount rate if you select it during your initial contracting process. Okay, so now we're on to step 5. You're basically confirming your order of everything that you've completed so far. So you have the opportunity to edit anything that you've input into the contract. And I'm just going to continue through, and you can see you're just confirming all the information that we've gone through here. And then we get down to the payment information. So this is where you can see you purchased a 10 by 21 corner. It's the advanced sales member rate. Here's the total. In this particular scenario, we selected the enhanced listing deluxe package at $495. And we also added those other 2 add-ons, the exhibitor directory logo, and the buyer's guide enhanced level profile. All of these totals added together equal this number here. Okay, and so if you wanted to edit or anything, you could do that here. So at the bottom of the confirm your order page, you do have the review the terms and conditions. If this is something important you'd like to review carefully before you complete, you can access the terms and conditions via a PDF on weftec.org/exhibit 2021. So it's all laid out there for you. You'll then be asked to go ahead and sign your name here, input your name, your job title, and if you select this option here, you're agreeing to these terms and conditions. Once you do select continue, you cannot go back. So if there's something that you want to change in your application, please hit the back button before you proceed. Okay, and then we're coming to the last step, almost the last step, the payment page here. So here you can see detail of the exhibit hall, the exhibit space cost. In this particular case, this organization has a $1,200 credit. Some of you have chosen to push money towards WEFTEC 2021 from last year. So you will see that deducted, that $1,200 here. Oops. Okay. What's required with the application is a 25% deposit. In this scenario, the $1,200 didn't meet the 25% deposit. So to do that, you have to pay an $837.50. Also, what's new is that we have an extended final payment deadline. So this has historically been May 31st, but to remain more flexible for you this year, we've pushed that out to June 30. So 25% is due with your contract, and then your remainder balance is due June 30. Until we receive the 25% contract, we will hold that booth space for you, but we will not send a countersigned contract and confirm the space with you until the deposit is received. Going through here, you have a couple of options to make your payment. You can pay by credit card right here when you're processing your application, or you can select Bill Me to pay by credit card later, or to pay by check, wire transfer, or ACH. In this example, we've selected credit card, and you can see the total is the amount of the $837 added plus your items added on. The items do add in full. We do request full payment of those, though only a 25% is due of your space. So it automatically calculates that number for you. You can process payment. If you choose to hit Bill Me, this is what the screen would look like. You would confirm that your email is correct. You would click process invoice, and you would have an invoice sent to you with instructions on how to make the payment. Okay, and so once you process your payment, you will come to a completion screen like this. I would ask that everyone add, in addition to WEFTEC sales at weft.org to your safe senders list, go ahead and also add service at mapyourshow.com as well. You will receive at least 2 emails automatically once you submit. You will receive an email with your completed contract. It will have all the information you completed online, and that's what WEF will be reviewing and eventually sending you the countersigned contract back. You'll also receive a separate email with your booth invoice, and if you've purchased a buyer's guide listing or a WEFTEC logo enhancement. The only other email you would receive is if you purchased a Map Your Show enhanced listing. That would be invoiced separately because that's paid directly to Map Your Show, so you would get a separate invoice for that. And so basically what happens at this time is we take your contract, we review it, we make an assignment, we see that your 25% deposit is on file, and then we send you the countersigned contract, and you're set. And then there's some quick links at the bottom here to take you back to the WEFTEC website, or if you are purchasing more than one individual space on behalf of your company, you can click here and it will take you back and start you with a new application. So I know that was a lot of information. It might be overload for some of you, and for others, I think it might be fairly intuitive, but I did want to take you through it, and I'm happy to take any questions.
I had a question about the square footage. Obviously, there's different ways that you could get to a certain square footage, but in the application, I only saw, like the example showed 10 foot by 20 foot. Let's say you had a 40 by 40 foot. There are different ways you might achieve that, or something close, like 800 would work for us, maybe 900 would work for us, maybe 1,000. So,
Sure.
Am I going to be pigeonholing myself by selecting only one square? Just say my square footage has to be this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's just a guesstimate on what you think you will reserve. The way that the system is configured, it has to bill you in that manner. However, once you get the invoice and once we get your application, the invoice will be adjusted based on exactly what you reserved. So it does have the drop down of a 40 by 40, a 15 by 20, and all those things, but there's probably going to be a lot of examples of where you say, I want this, but you actually end up picking this, and we will adjust the invoice correctly. Great question. Jess and Aaron, are you seeing any questions in the chat that stand out that we can answer?
I don't think so. A lot of the questions that I'm seeing in chat are actually addressed in our frequently asked questions document, which is linked within the chat. So I encourage everyone to review that document, which Kate has spent a lot of time putting together, and answers a lot of the questions that I'm seeing within the chat here.
And keep asking those questions. That FAQ will probably evolve. So if you don't see a question on there and later you're wondering, we'll probably keep updating it as you ask the question. So please continue to do that. Because if you're asking, probably someone else is too.
Kate, just the one question I didn't see an answer to is limitation in terms of actual booth staff. Is there going to be a limited number?
Stephanie, do you want to take that question?
Okay, it's still pretty much answered within the answer from the FAQ, in that we don't have a specific determination as to the minimum booth staff or maximum booth staff yet. The exhibit hall itself is one of the larger areas in the convention center, so it has the least restrictions with respect to amount of people. But the booth itself is a restricted area, which is one of the reasons that we are doing the alternating booths for inlines. But that is a guideline that we will be developing.
Thank you. And here you have our sales contacts and information on here for reference. So take a peek there. Let me see if I can, I'm trying to see if I can pull up the chat where you don't have to see my chat. Let's see.
I did
Stephanie,
also
there's
see one question.
The question from Chandler.
Which one?
About the after-hour sessions at the booth, which I'm assuming are the typical networking efforts that we've had in the past. Hi, Chandler, by the way.
Hello.
Oh, I do see the question. I'm assuming we will still have that. I don't remember.
Unmute. Okay, I can chime in on that. So I don't have an answer to that specific, but I can tell you that we are talking about more networking hours in the exhibit hall than you probably have seen in the past. One of the things we learned last year at WEFTEC Connect, our virtual meeting, is how much the networking was important. And so we're going to be focusing on more networking hours, but exactly what that looks like, we don't have a defined answer for you yet. We are also looking to integrate more dedicated exhibit hall hours than we have been in the past, where no other functions would be going on. outside the exhibit hall during those hours. Again, we don't have the specific details of timing yet, but we're looking to offer that on a daily basis to put more focus on that networking and face-to-face engagement. A lot of the networking areas that you see on the floor plan are really meant to support conversations around particular topics, talking about water, and to support, you know, that serendipitous run-in and face-to-face time that's so important to many of you and attendees. So that's definitely on our mind, and we'll share more of the details as they're available. Let's see. Someone asked about where they can find their priority points. So if you go to weftec.org/exhibit 2021 and you scroll down and look at the flippers, there's one that says priority point information. And if you go ahead and look at one of the schedules, it does have the priority points next to it. And then if you have specific questions beyond that, just feel free to contact us directly.
Hello, Kate, it's Mark Gearing. Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is there a rough date, or I know this is your crystal ball, is there a rough date that you might make the decision whether it goes virtual or hybrid?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a very fair question. I don't have a good answer for you right now. I mean, there's a couple things, you know, last year when we made the call that we had to cancel the in-person WEFTEC event, you know, there were a number of indicators. You know, there wasn't a vaccine. We were doing pulse checks with attendees, exhibitors, that they weren't confident in participating, unable to participate because of travel. And so this year, you know, we're really paying attention to the vaccine rollout. And so I think other indicators we're looking at are, you know, the state of Illinois and specifically Chicago allowing events. So in one of our FAQs, you can see a link to, I think it's called Healthy Meetings Chicago. And so they are talking about their plans as they evolve to open the convention center. So we're keeping close tabs on that. I think also what will be involved in the decision are continuing to get those pulse checks from attendees and exhibitors. So we are reaching out to attendees to do those types of things. And of course, the pulse checks from you, we're hearing, and a lot of it will be evidenced by as the exhibit hall you know, continues to fill and is reserved and how that works. So unfortunately, I don't have a specific date. You would think, hey, we went through this last year, you know, we should know, but now we're waiting for a vaccine. And so that's why those things are unknown. But what we have done is, as I said before, pushed out that final payment date to June 30. And we have also extended our cancellation date of June 30, where you can cancel by June 30 and only incur a 10% cancellation fee. So we've given and added that flexibility for our partners.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions in the chat? Let's see.
There's a question about which hall is considered the main hall. All of the booth spaces are the main booth spaces. Everything is an excellent choice.
Exactly.
But I'm not sure that one of them would be necessarily identified as the main hall. Kate, is that correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
So speaking of that, I noticed that you've taken the innovation component and moved it to the opposite hall, which is kind of interesting.
That is actually where it has been historically.
I thought it's always been close to Operations Challenge.
Operations Challenge has moved. Operations Challenge was previously in North Hall, at least for the last 4 events, if I'm counting my if I'm counting my years correctly. The last time Operations Challenge was in South Hall was 2013, I believe. And then it moved to North Hall for a couple of years. And then now it's back in South Hall.
Okay. That helps.
We had to go back a couple of years just to get a floor plan to base it off of.
I just scrolled to our operations contacts, so you have those things here. If you have a specific question on, you know, how a piece of equipment might fit in your booth, how the hanging sign requirements, things like that, those are operations related questions that Stephanie and her team would be happy to answer. But of course, if they're routed through me, I might be able to answer it or can hand it off to Stephanie. So just wanted to share those contacts with you as well. I think if there are more questions, feel free to hang on and keep asking, but for everyone else, you know, we really thank you for being part of this webinar today. We're going to post the recording on weftec.org/exhibit 2021, so you can watch the recording later or share it with a colleague. And if you have any questions, we would really encourage that you reach out to us by phone or by email, weftechsales@weft.org, prior to your appointment. Your appointments, particularly for the live appointments, the first 150 companies, are only 10 minutes. So we really just want to focus that time on, here's what the current inventory is. Let's talk about your booth's interests and get your booth, you know, reserved for you. But so lovely to see so many of you, and we're really excited to be starting and kicking off booth reservations for you. I'm very
Hey, Kate, I have a very fast question, please.
Sure. Hi, Tarek.
Hi, Kate. Hi, Kate. I'm not sure. I don't understand exactly this appointment thing. So we will be called on phone. How is it going to happen exactly in details?
So, Tarek, I don't have your booth appointment right in front of me, but the first 150 appointments will receive a calendar invite 1 week before their appointment, and will include a Zoom link in which you will join and you will video share. You don't have to be on video, but it would be good for you to have the capabilities so we can both be looking at the floor plan and the same screen together.
So all the 150 will be all together?
They will be timed appointments one after the other in priority point order.
So it will be one-on-one?
What's that?
It will be one-on-one meeting?
It will be one-on-one for the first 150 appointments. And after the call, I can check and see where you're at. But for everyone on the call, if you're above the 150 appointments, you basically don't have a timed appointment. You have a date when you can start completing your application online, and you'll have 2 full business days to complete that before we start going through in priority point order and making.
I actually checked. We will be in the 5th group, or the fourth, the 4th group after the 150. So the 4th 100. So this, we will not have an appointment, right?
You will not have an exact appointment, but we can call you when we come to your application if you'd like to have that one-on-one time with us to review your specific requirements.
Perfect. Thank you, Kate. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
It's clear to me now. Thank you.
Great. Wonderful. Other questions?
Hey, this is Darby Ritter. I asked in the chat, but real quick, I'm sorry if I missed this. How often, especially during the first 150, how often will the floor plan be updated, or will it be live?
Great question. So we will have to publish the floor plan, but we will plan to keep continually doing that throughout the day. So you will see them. We'll be publishing daily.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Kate, I was going to ask, the big players, have they all committed? You know, the ones that traditionally have been there with the mega booths, are they all committed, or are they taking a wait and see approach?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, we don't have any formal commitments yet because no one's been offered the option to reserve their space and sign a contract. So, we have had survey responses that we've sent out and reviewed, but some of those surveys were at the end of last year. And so things have changed since that time. So I can't really give you a firm answer, but certainly you can bookmark the floor plan. And as we start March 3rd, I would encourage you to check on there and see how the floor is filling up. But
Great.
Until they fill out the application, I can't be sure what they're going to reserve.
So one more question, Kate. There will be any limitation on the number of personnel per square feet of the booth?
There may be a limitation, but that has not been developed yet. We did include that in our FAQs to let you know that's something that we might have to implement. But right now we're too far out from the show to make that determination. It's possible, but we don't know yet, and we'll be updating you once that is available.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question.
At this time, all questions have either been answered by you or in the chat itself. So if anyone has asked a question within the chat and they don't see it answered, if you could please put it in the chat again, I'll make sure it gets addressed. Or if you want to ask it at this time.
Or if it's personal to you, email us at weftechsales@weft.org and we'll be happy to reach out to you directly. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. Really.
Thank you very much, Kate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we'll be in touch, and we just can't wait to see so many of your smiling faces in person.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you.
I agree. It was sad to miss it last year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
And if you still have a question, want to ask, feel free to hang on.